Today, I'm pleased to have Rick Sinnett, who I know to be an excellent criminal attorney, an excellent civil attorney, and a good friend, to discuss an aspect that has always intrigued me, and that is the investigation of a criminal case or the pursuit of a criminal case and how it can play out and help an attorney pursue a civil case. So first, let me ask Rick, can you just describe your background?
Sure. I've been a lawyer for almost a quarter of a century. For the 10 years in the 80s, I was an investigator for the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office in Boston, where I investigated rape and murder cases, a few other things, but mostly murder and rape cases. And I went to Suffolk Law School at night for my last 4 years of those 10 years in the DA's office.
Okay, and Rick, let's take a serious case, say a motor vehicle homicide, and there's a parallel investigation of a criminal case, and then there's a civil case stemming out of that. How could the pursuit of the criminal case help or provide the lawyer with information for pursuing the civil case?
Well, if there's a conviction in a criminal case and the facts alleged are the same as in the civil case, and typically we're talking about intentional torts like assault and battery, then a conviction in the criminal case where the standard is proof beyond a reasonable doubt may allow you to have summary judgment in the civil case, which would give you proof of all the facts you need up until damages. And because the conviction would be considered res judicata on the issue of the intentional tort.
So also in the case of a motor vehicle homicide, if somebody, say, pleaded guilty or is found guilty of motor vehicle homicide, will that have res judicata effect in the civil case or collateral estoppel effect?
It should. However, if the circumstances in the criminal case are outrageous, you may not want to have summary judgment on those issues, because there may be some terrible facts that you can bring to the attention of the jury, which will enhance your case as far as damages go.
Sure. And what kind of investigation is done by the police in a criminal case that you think a civil attorney could acquire, and B, after acquiring it, could potentially use in a civil case?
You should be able to get a hold of almost all the investigative data, photographs, sometimes physical evidence, but usually just lab reports, reports of witnesses, and then by filing a motion, you should be able to get a copy of the grand jury minutes.
And if an attorney, a defense attorney in the civil case, pleaded the Fifth Amendment and stayed the proceedings of the civil case, you nonetheless could go and get that information that is gathered pursuant to the criminal case. Is that true?
Yes, and usually the civil case will move forward regardless of the status of the criminal case.
And why is that? There won't be a stay?
That's right. Usually the judge won't. Typically, if there's a criminal case pending, the judge, the defense attorney will make a motion that the criminal case be stayed while the criminal case is going on.
The civil
case be stayed while the criminal case is going on. But my experience has been almost always the judge allows the civil case to proceed.
Okay. And you had mentioned off camera about a FOIA request and how the police report has ample details of witnesses and so forth. Can you speak to the FOIA request?
Yes, you should be able to get a police report almost right away in almost all circumstances by simply filing a public records request. That's what our FOIA law is called in Massachusetts. Now, the problem with our public records law in Massachusetts is the enforcement mechanism is first going through, if the enforcement mechanism, if the police department doesn't give you the records you request, you send a letter to the Secretary of State's office asking them to enforce the law. They'll send a letter, but there's no follow-up. The Attorney General's office is then supposed to become involved, but the Attorney General's office has refused to become involved for the last few years, so there's little enforcement of the public records law.
So Rick, a final question for you. Does having had experience as a criminal, as a prosecutor or involved in the prosecution of criminal cases and as a defense lawyer, does that help or enhance your abilities as a civil personal injury attorney?
I think it's helped a lot because I had done the criminal investigations for 10 years before I became a lawyer handling civil cases, and I tend to look at a personal injury case in a lot of ways is similar to a criminal case. You have a scene, you have a victim, you have the police involved quite often, you have physical evidence, you have diagrams, you have photographs, and I think my criminal investigative background taught me how to put together a better civil case.
Okay, and I'll wrap it up by saying I have no criminal experience, so I'll rely on people who do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.